Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Lyndall Gray, and we've got a great topic for you today. So sit back, relax, and obviously send your questions in as they come to mind. Now, one thing we regularly hear from our members is that hiring and retaining staff is a really big challenge, both from our parks and trade members. The Association's really committed to promoting careers in our industry to ensure that our members are up to date with some of the programs and funding available so that you can attract, train and retain staff in your businesses. Today I've invited James Moran to talk to us about how you might be able to tap into some of the Australian Government's apprenticeships programs to train your staff. James is the National General Manager from Apprenticeship Support Australia, who are owned by the Business Chamber Movement and hold a contract with the Australian Government to provide apprenticeship services to businesses at no cost. So welcome, James.
Hi, Lyndall.
Now, firstly, can you give us an overview of what the Australian Apprenticeship Program is all about?
I definitely can, and thanks for the invitation to come along today and to talk with your members about this very important area. An Australian apprenticeship, the apprenticeship program combines what you might have heard of traineeships and apprenticeships in the one space. Basically, a traineeship or an apprenticeship, it's a great recruitment option for businesses who want to invest in their workforce when they're looking for new staff or looking at retaining the top talent that they may have in their industry at the moment. They include the traditional trades, so anything in the in your motor vehicle, carpentry, that sort of area. But they can also apply in the traineeship space through into areas like business administration, frontline management, marketing, retail, those sorts of things. The whole idea of a traineeship or an apprenticeship is that people can earn money while they're learning. So we're going to be combining a practical work experience where they're working in your workplaces, learning real on-the-job skills, but also having that supplemented by new skills that come from a training provider like a TAFE or a registered training organisation that will train them in the formal part of that area too, and really help them to address the needs in your business, and they might be skill needs that you've got. Generally, an apprenticeship will take somewhere between 3 and 4 years to complete. Traineeships tend to take somewhere between 6 months and 24 months to complete. Think about the traineeships as being more the white-collar qualifications that you've got involved, and your blue-collar area is very much around your apprenticeship space, where that can take longer, 3 to 4 years, but very much about earning while they learn, doing some study, and formally complementing that with the on-the-job experience and building their skills as they go. So that's what the apprenticeship program is pretty much about, and naturally the Australian Government supports in that space with some generous incentives around helping employers, because they understand that they want to be able to make it easier for employers to take on people who may not have skills to start with but might become very productive very quickly because of the extra training that they're getting as well. So.
Okay, so why don't we just have a quick review of some of the benefits of hiring under the Australian Apprenticeships Program?
Well, there are many benefits. People can be, you can be building a skilled workforce as you go. So businesses have certain needs that they need to cover in terms of what they need to achieve, and they can be using the apprenticeship program or the traineeship program to actually train staff to meet those needs. Often we meet employers all the time who are crying out for skilled staff in certain areas, and that can be anything from building skills in customer service, for instance, through to more technical skills that they might want to look at. Other benefits include access to government funding. So there's definitely government incentives, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on, that apply to apprenticeships and traineeships for employers, and also rebates such as payroll tax rebates, workers' compensation insurance rebates that apply in the space too. Employers can choose from full-time, part-time, or even flexible school-based traineeships and apprenticeships where some of the year 11 and 12 people might still be completing their school certificate or their higher school certificate at the same time that they're learning skills on the job, and that can be building a workforce for the future for employers. The real key for employers as we see it though is that we definitely know there's a link between retaining someone at work and in their job and recognising that you want to develop them while they're on the job as well. So there's a real retention piece around offering someone an apprenticeship or a traineeship. If you think about retaining an apprentice, you might have someone for 4 years, you continue to nurture them and train them on their way through. They can learn a lot about your business in that time and be really providing some solid value in those in the third and fourth year definitely. So there's some of the benefits around the program, and the benefits can shift and change depending on the employer and the region that they might be in, and that's why we're going to encourage each of your members to get in touch with the officer on the ground that are closest to where they are to actually get the specific regional information that they might need. But generally, they're the benefits that apply.
A question is that we've just got in is, does this apply to mature age trainees as well?
Oh, really good question. I missed that as part of the start. Yes, it does apply to mature age people. So we used to think about traineeships and apprentices as young people. Definitely not. I mean, there's people career transitioning all the time and might decide that they want to go from an area they're in now into something else, and the traineeship and apprenticeship program definitely applies to mature age people. So
terrific. Yeah. So they'll be able to use it across all aspects of their business. That's wonderful.
Definitely. Yep.
Okay, so can you just give us a bit of an explanation about who Apprenticeship Support Australia are?
Okay, yeah, well, definitely will. Apprenticeship Support Australia came to the fore in July last year when the 4 business chambers across the country, being New South Wales Business Chamber, the Victorian Chamber, the Business South Australia and CCI WA, all decided to get together to operate their apprenticeships as one company across the country, so that employers who did have a different footprint in different states could all achieve the same level of service right across the country. It combines over 60 years worth of experience in that space. So the chambers have looked after apprenticeships and traineeships for a very long time. We've got a lot of people on deck who've been working in the system for a lot of time and can provide excellent advice to employers when they need that. So very much about providing holistic training advice across the country. One of the difficulties for us sometimes is the Department of Education is different in every state, so we have to manage that difference for employers and make it easy for them to actually get involved in apprenticeships and traineeships.
That's particularly good for some of our trade members, for example, who have business interests right across Australia. So it's good to know that it's a broader spread even beyond the boundaries of New South Wales. That's terrific.
And often what we can do if they've got a presence in either state, Lyndall, is to actually help them with getting involved in a new state. So if they're looking at expanding or moving forward, get in touch with us and we can actually give them the introduction into that new state and let them know what the conditions and the benefits are in those states. So definitely why ASA was formed. We're putting up a slide now just to actually show our national presence. We've actually got 75 officers across the country with more than 400 people working in this space to support your members. In New South Wales alone, we have 25 officers. Some of the areas that we cover there in the regional spaces include Broken Hill, Wagga, Albury, Bega, right up and down the coast, up to Byron Bay and Ballina, and throughout Western New South Wales. So having those people on the ground really allows your members to form a relationship. So.
Yeah, that's going to be terrific for us because our membership is spread very broadly across the state. Having those local officers that they can talk to, I think, is going to be a huge, huge benefit. Okay, so that's the background on the program, but can we get now into some of the specifics? Tell us exactly what ASA can do for our members.
I think it's important to point out up front that the services we're providing to your members are very much no cost to them. So we're funded by the government, so we have to apply for a government contract every 3 years, and so the advice they're getting is for free, and that's why they should use us and ask the questions whenever they can. But the sort of things that we're going to provide support services in is very much advice around government incentives and benefits that will be available to a business. Now sometimes those incentives will be dependent on prior qualifications that a trainee or an apprentice might have, and we're in the best position to actually give them accurate advice on what incentives will apply. So before they embark on a program, they'll know exactly what their costs will be and also how much in terms of incentives and rebates they're likely to receive as well. We'll assist with registering the natural paperwork that has to happen. So our role is to make sure that the contract between your apprentice and your trainee is as tight as it can be, and it's registered with the government as a formal qualification going forward. So the trainee or apprentice will have that requirement and will be involved in making sure that paperwork is completed and submitted to the government, and everything's achieved like it needs to be. We'll be providing access to mentoring and coaching throughout the traineeship and apprenticeship. So a big focus for us is to make sure that if people start in an apprenticeship or a traineeship, that they are going to stay with it and will complete to the end. Now, in a lot of cases, we're dealing with younger people who may have issues that might come up from time to time. They've just been starting to get money. They're, might be coming to terms with living in a new town. Our mentoring services is designed to highlight anyone who might be a little bit higher risk and actually make sure that we're checking in with them every now and then just to make sure that the apprenticeship and traineeship is progressing. If we highlight something that the employer might need to know about, we'll definitely let them know, just so that we're all working together to make sure that the apprenticeship or the trainee or apprentice completes the program. The mentoring and advisory service is definitely there for the apprentices too. So anything from, they might need a little bit of advice around financial services, how do they look after their money, budgeting, that whole thing, or, gee, my boss is being a bit tough on me today, he wanted me to turn up to work for 9 o'clock, and, our response might be, well, that's just what you got to do these days, kiddo, you turn up to work and do your job. So, but sometimes it helps employers to actually hear that from another source, and that's definitely what we do. And finally, the service we provide is access to a raft of services available from the chamber movement. So we assist employers every day in the area of work health and safety, industrial relations, recruitment, and as much as we're not involved in delivering that ourselves, we refer your members and people that we're dealing with to professional support in that area as well. So being part of the chamber movement really assists us to do that and gives your members access to a much wider field of services to help them to build their workforce for the future.
That's just terrific to know that there are these support services available, because our members in small businesses are dealing with a lot of different issues day to day. So knowing there's the services of ASA that they can get involved with as part of this program, I think is a real terrific benefit.
Even down to, recruitment, they might say, oh, gee, I'm struggling to find a trainee or apprentice. We can assist in that space too by referring them on. So. One of the questions that's come in on, do we provide information on RTOs in regional areas? We definitely do. So the RTOs are a key piece of the puzzle in providing training to apprentices and trainees. We will do the research on who the RTOs are, whether there's funding available for them or not. We'll look at the past experience that we've had with those RTOs and give them direction on what we've seen from that provider before. Our requirement is to usually provide 2 or 3 options, Lyndall, in terms of who they might want to go to and then start having a conversation with from an RTO perspective. So right. TAFE is definitely going to be in the mix in the regional areas, as are some of the private providers, but it's definitely a key part of what we do is working in that space.
So the registered training organisations are a resource. You can help people pick through the web of all the options out there and pick the ones that might be best for them and in their local area. That's terrific.
And also just having so much experience and so many years experience in the space, we can give them, hey, based on what other clients have done, this is what we recommend in that space. So, definitely a resource there.
Okay. All right. We've worked with your team to put together an overview of the qualifications that are directly associated with the caravan and camping industry. Can you tell us about a few of the key qualifications, both for parks and trade members today?
Yeah, I can. We've actually drilled down on a couple of qualifications. One that I believe you've been working with in helping get funding for in New South Wales, Lyndall, which was the recreational vehicle service and repair qualification. But the other one we thought might be of interest today too is the Certificate 3 in Holiday Parks and Resorts. So that is a traineeship, and if we looked at the sort of things that your trainees might cover in that space, it'd be things like there's definitely going to be some core modules that they need to do around sustainable work practices, around safety, how do I do my work in a safe way, providing service to customers. I mean, in your environments, there's always going to be interactions with customers. It doesn't matter where people work, they're going to have that. So some key core modules: safety, customer service, sustainable work practices. But then employers and trainees can choose from a raft of electives that might best suit their business when they start to look at what they need in their park or whatever it is that they're working in. And some of those elective units in that particular qualification include installing irrigation systems, so looking after land and that sort of thing. How do I do that? Constructing landscape features using concrete, if that's something that you're going to have on your radar in the course of the next year or two, maybe you should be looking at a trainee who's going to get some more skills in that area. Also looking at things like monitoring pool quality. So some of the parks are going to have pools that need to be maintained. Park owners might be paying for those services and contracting them out at the moment. If they've got people who are skilled on deck, that's another area that they might be able to save some money in going forward. Other elective choices include, maintaining plants, using power tools. So the employer, the trainee, will sit down and work through what those needs are for the business, and then we'll find the RTO that delivers it, and commitment going forward then that the trainee would have a plan of modules that they're going to do. Sometimes it'll be off the job doing a bit of training, sometimes they'll be learning on the job as well. So that's one qualification. That was a Certificate 3 in holiday parks and resorts. The one that you mentioned before, and I know you've been working with the government on, was Certificate 3 in recreational vehicle service and repair. Again, there's some core modules that need to be covered there, working in a sustainable way. Safety is always going to feature in national qualifications. But then again, there's a raft of electives that can be chosen, looking at things like, maintaining brake systems within vehicles, caravans, carrying out vehicles and doing roadworthy inspections, things like repairing chassis and frames, performing routine gas, metal and arc welding, for instance, can come into that qualification. So if you've got an apprentice, and that's definitely an apprenticeship, that one, that will be working more in that maintenance and repair space, that is definitely a qualification that attracts funding in New South Wales, and the employers would be open to be receiving incentives and the rebates that go along with it for those two qualifications. But then you're going to have areas within the businesses that look after the administration, the accounting piece. There's a raft of qualifications in business, accounting, business administration, learning how to use software packages on computers, installing payroll systems, all of that sort of thing that will cover. And I know the brochure that you've already been prepared covers the raft of different functions that might exist within the parks, and see the qualifications that match up. So I really encourage your members to have a look at that document when they're starting to plan their workforce planning and where they might have needs coming up in the future.
Yes, we're about to get that brochure produced and sent out to our members. And I think that's been a really interesting exercise to actually map all the trainees and apprenticeship programs and how they fit across our broad industry, because we've got so many aspects of the caravan and camping industry. And the fact that we've identified over 150 of those, I think is just a testament to the complexity of what our members have been dealing with. But this is hopefully going to provide a really simple solution for them to go through and say, wow, these are the things that are relevant to my business. That's really going to be worthwhile. And as you mentioned, James, we've been very pleased to see that we've got advice that the repairers, RV vehicle service and repair course, the Cert 3, will be included on the skills list for 2017, which is really good to know. It's going to deliver a full qualification, offered as a traineeship. So it's great for our industry. As the popularity of recreation vehicles are increasing, we need to make sure we got qualified people in our businesses able to do the servicing and repair. So that's terrific, and it's going to enable the program to be delivered at a better rate than previously when it wasn't on the skills funded list.
Yeah, and I might just jump in there because, we work in that space all the time and talk with governments about getting qualifications funded and that sort of thing, and that's not an easy feat, what you've achieved. So on behalf of your members, you need to be congratulated on getting it to a point where by 2017 you're going to have such a high needed qualification with your industry there as a funded qual. So, yeah.
And that's terrific. And also, though, what's really important part is getting it on the list. We now need our members to really embrace it, to use it, to register to get their staff into that program, because the more successful it becomes, the more we prove the case of the need for it. So that's really terrific. So we'll be communicating further with members about that shortly.
Oh, and rest assured, the government's going to be looking for your members to use it because, and this is just a bit of a, hey, they put it on the list, but they put it on for a reason. They want to see an uptake in that space, because if your industry doesn't take it on board, they'll actually allocate that funding in the future to an industry that might have higher needs. So get behind it now is my message in that space, because now's the time to make it work. So, yeah.
Absolutely. We'll be working hard to make sure that happens.
Okay, we're moving on now to look at the incentives and funding that's available. So we've just got a slide come up now talking through that. Now, there's a myriad of incentives and funding that apply, and again, you're going to be relying on your advisors on the ground to see what will apply to you. But we've been quite general here in our approach in looking at what you might get. So the Australian, the federal government and the state government both provide funding in certain areas, and that's our role to make sure that we know which ones apply and apply them to the employers as and when they come up. So the financial incentives that are available, in the first one that's listed there on the slide is investing in apprentice in a skill shortage area. In a Certificate 3 or a Certificate 4, can attract up to $4,000 for metropolitan employers and up to $5,000 for rural and regional employers. Now, you know, your members might be saying, well, why is the government throwing money at this? Why are they giving me money? There might be an area of, well, they don't do this normally. That $4,000 or $5,000 is meant to compensate for employers for time at work that apprentices and trainees are spent training. So it's meant as compensation. They're not giving money away. They're actually encouraging you to give people time at work or in their work time to train and to develop skills that you can use going forward. Providing a start for school-based apprentices, there's some incentives, federal incentives available there, $5,500 for metropolitan employees, $6,500 for rural and regional. You'll see there's always a little bit more for the rural and regional members in terms of being able to access that incentive. Now, our role in that process will be to search the government files to make sure that those quals haven't been done before, and then advise your members on whether they'd be likely to get that money or not. In the case of the $4,000, it's usually paid in 2 instalments. You'd get $1,500 after 6 months and $2,500 on completion of the program. So it would be in everyone's interest to make sure that we choose the right people to start the traineeships and apprenticeships, because we'll get our greater funding lick at the end when they finish off. Similar information there about school-based traineeships. The other thing to be aware of in New South Wales is if your organisation is paying payroll tax, so if your business is paying payroll tax, anyone that comes in as a trainee or an apprentice is rebatable from a payroll tax perspective. So in New South Wales, the rate's around 5.45% they're paying on payroll tax. You can deduct their salary when you're actually doing your payroll tax calculation, which is another significant benefit for those larger organisations that are looking at building a workforce, to take that into account as a benefit that you'll get by having people in training. Now, this can be a pathway, so people can start on a Certificate 3, and if they finish, usually within 3 months of finishing, they can enrol in a Certificate 4, keep their learning going over the next 2 or 3 years, and maintain that rebate for the full period. So, again, pathway provision for trainees and apprentices is great. It helps keep them around. It shows you as an employer you're getting behind them, helping to develop them, not only giving them skills at work, but helping them build a career and getting qualified as well. So the other areas there that we've got is, we've mentioned other funding that might be available is for people over 25 years of age. I noticed on the last point of the slide there, there are higher incentives available there to get more mature people back into the workforce and into training. So yeah, I mean, again, when we're working with you, other rebates that might apply are rebates against workers' compensation insurance and other things. But your advisor on the ground, once we start looking at various qualifications, the people involved, we will then advise on the likely incentives that you'll get as going forward. So they'd never have to go forward on anything, not understanding the finances of how it will work for them, and also having developed a relationship with a registered training organisation.
Okay, James, we've got another question here, and it is: do these incentives apply to existing employees or just to new staff?
In the main, it applies to new staff. In some of the key skill shortage areas, they do apply to existing workers. So again, it would be a matter of your advisor looking at the skills list and seeing where it fits, and then we would advise whether the funding would apply to existing workers or not. But in some of the traditional trade areas, definitely it would apply to existing workers as well. So my advice is, when you're sitting down with your advisor, have a list of your staff, see how long they've been there, give some thought to the qualifications you might like to upskill them in and the areas you want to upskill them in, and then your advisor would be best to work out what would be available at the time. But it's not just new entrants, very much focused on getting new people upskilled, but it's a chance to upskill existing workers and work on retaining them as well. Okay, well, we're not just working with the Business Chamber on
this particular program, we're also working on the Skills Road program, which is, I think, a terrific initiative that promotes careers in the caravan and camping industry. Can you talk us through what Skills Road is all about?
Yeah, definitely. It's pretty exciting for us, the Skills Road. It's been getting developed now for over 7 years, and it was a way of helping school leavers and people who might be in career transition to get some information around what it is they might like to do. So as I mentioned before, big focus on behalf of us to make sure that we get people to finish apprenticeships, they complete their apprenticeships and traineeships, but one way of doing that is making sure we get the right people in there in the first instance. So Skills Road, and we encourage all of your members to have a look at the website, skillsroad.com.au. It's been, as I said, being built over the last 7 years. We've got some key areas that we focus on, and it's been based as an information tool for school leavers and also for people who are in career transition. Now, when you look at Skills Road, you'll see a lot of information in there. What we encourage people who come onto Skills Road to do is to join and become an active member, and then they can actually do some testing around where they're at themselves. So there's a test that focuses on job readiness, in terms of, what are their team building skills like, what are their communication skills like, and it'll give them a rating after they've done a test in that space. And there's another test that they can do to look at a little bit around aptitude. What types of work do they like to do? Are they more of an indoor worker or an outdoor worker? Do they focus on, are they better with people or better with numbers, that sort of thing? So those two small tests that exist within Skills Road give candidates some real strong information about themselves, and then they can go onto the employer page and get a lot of information about different types of employment that might be available for them to conduct. Their tests are going to be telling them that they need to maybe go down the path of looking at being a gardener, for instance. They can go to the employer page and find out more information about what it is to be a gardener, what would you likely be paid, and that sort of thing. And then finally, we've got a jobs board on Skills Road that our members, our employers, can actually list jobs on the jobs board for free. So someone who might be thinking about their career can do a test, find out a bit about themselves, find out info about a job, and then see an employer on there advertising for that role. And so actually it ends up being an end-to-end solution in that space, Lyndall, in terms of just giving them information. Now, as you can imagine, this has been a fantastic resource for careers advisors at schools. Often, those careers advisors are crying out for information that they can cover in classes, and what we'd like to do with your industry is actually help grow that profile of what it's like to work in your industry, to get more people when you're looking to fill jobs in this space. So, where we can profile certain jobs, that's what we're going to do there. And more recently, the jobs board's being swept by Indeed.com now. So your members would be putting jobs up on the jobs board for free. It's getting swept by Indeed.com, and then they're going to get a lot more candidates in terms of applications for jobs as well. So definitely meant as a resource. It's not just for school people either. It's for people who might be career transitioning. They can have a look on there, do a bit of testing, and we encourage your members, get on there, do the test yourselves, and see what outcome you get. And another thing that some of our employers are doing is actually getting candidates to do the test before they come in for an interview. And then you've got really an excellent talking piece around, hey, you answered this question this way, or this was the outcome. Can you explain why you are better off indoors and yet you're applying for a gardening job? That's the sort of conversation, and it just helps your employers be a little bit more sophisticated in their recruitment approaches, which is another benefit of working with you and also working with us in that Skills Road space. But I think the best advice I can give is have a play, have a look at it, do the test yourself, see what information's there, see what other employers are advertising on Skills Road in your area, and we have the capacity to push jobs in certain areas as well if we know certain regions are focused on employing people. So working with us, we can assist you across New South Wales and Australia in doing that. So
it's a great website. I know I've really, the experience that you offer on that site is amazing. The information about such a broad range of jobs, and I think anything that's out there to help people understand the opportunities in the growing caravan and camping industry is terrific. So that's why the CCIA has been working with the New South Wales Business Chamber to produce short videos promoting some of the careers that are in our industry. They'll be loaded up onto the site very shortly, and they'll help young school leavers, or as you said, other people looking to transition into different industries, understand what it means to be in a manufacturer, for example, with RVs, or in a holiday park. So a lot of broad information that it's going to deliver, and we're very excited about that. We're going to continue to build on those videos so that we can cover different aspects of our industry, because again, it is so broad. So this is one that I think is a terrific initiative, and we're really excited to have that partnership in place.
Lyndall, I just noticed a question there from someone that's mentioned they've currently got apprentices employed with them. Can they apply for some funding in that space? I would just say make contact with your local representative. We're definitely wanting to have a chat with you about your current situation and future situations to see if we can't help you with your current ones. We can definitely look at being around for your future ones, so that you're going into any engagement like that in the future knowing exactly the sort of funding you're going to get access to, and we'll be there throughout the process to help you with that. So don't hesitate to reach out to your local representative, would be my advice to, I think it was Steve that sent that question through. So, yeah.
And a little bit more here about Skills Road, James?
So yeah, I guess we've mentioned the jobs board in there and getting access to talent. I mean, often we've got employers who actually have jobs, and we know we've got high unemployment in some areas. So we do see Skills Road as being the pathway from people who aren't working to understanding that there are opportunities in certain industries, and then applying for a job and then actually getting the job. And the other note just there speaks to the career quiz and the job fit test that I alluded to and I spoke about before as recruitment tools that you can use that have been developed by an in-house psychologist within the chambers to give the best possible results in that area, and it can help, just help you weed out the people that do apply for your jobs and to make sure you get the right people in those roles. So again, very much free services provided as part of working with us in this space.
So how can members get more information or find out if they're eligible to train staff under the Australian Apprenticeship or Trainee Program?
Okay, so Apprenticeship Support Australia has a lot of local industry training consultants. We mentioned before there the number of offices we've got across the country. A consultation with an advisor is no cost, and we'll give you information about eligibility and incentives that are available in RTOs as well. There's a link there, Lyndall, on the website that's showing now. We encourage your members to go to that link.
That's our member website. So, yes, everyone get onto the member website, log in and find out about how you can fill out the registration form for a free consultant visit to your business, and also download some of the qualifications listings that we've been speaking about today. So the resources are all there. You can access it 24/7 on the member website, and we'd love to see a big uptake of this opportunity. It's free. It's great. This is a real opportunity for you get the experts to come to your business and make sense of what potentially can sometimes be a complicated issue. Talk to the experts direct and find out what's involved.
I might just jump in there again. The expertise that we bring to the table too is dealing with your members, but also dealing with members across the state and across the country, where we can take the learnings from other areas and help impart them on your members too, so that the system just keeps getting better and better, and you get a stronger workforce that just keeps being reliable. And if you're looking at growing your business, it's an excellent way to do that. But yeah, be sure to tap in. Even if you're only a little bit interested in this area and you want to talk to someone, please reach out to us. That's our role, funded by the government definitely to do that. So yeah, make use of it.
And Shannon's just reminded me that you actually don't even have to log into the member website to access that information. Use that URL that's showing on the screen at the moment, and it'll connect you directly into the form to fill out to get a consultant to come and visit you. And we've also been asked for contact details for ASA to discuss traineeships. The best way would be to fill out the form, would it, and get that lodged, and then it'll be referred to the appropriate contact point for you.
Yep, definitely. Yep, use that landing page. So.
Well, that's all we have formally for today's webinar. I think it's been a really interesting session to understand that there are these free services available, that you can talk to people that are highly qualified. And I'm really encouraging all of our members out there to really take advantage of this opportunity. It's something that I think is going to add enormous value to our businesses, many of them very small businesses, many of them in rural and remote areas of the state. But this program has a broad reach and applies across all styles of businesses. So thank you for joining us today. As always, this webinar will be posted to the member website, and you can come back and access it at any time. And thank you for participating.
Thanks for the invitation to come along today, Lyndall, and yeah, reach out to us when you need to. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, James.